Inhale, exhale. Okay, wrists. Okay, reverse. And center. Bigger circle. One, two, and stop. Okay, shake it out. Okay, side to side shifting. Okay, find your center. Can lift up. And center. Okay, shake it out. Arm swing, leg swing. Right side in. Okay, switch. And center. Okay, shake it out. Side to side. and sana. Switch. And sana. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing, hands up. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, silk rilling. Switch. And sana. Open and close. Switch. Okay, sana. Feet parallel circular movements. And Sana. Okay. Low hoop. Okay, Sana. Elbows down. Lower palms down. Extend. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, diagonal flying. Okay, switch. Okay, Sana, cloud hands. Okay, center. Carry tiger to the mountain. Okay, infinity sign. Form the fist. Okay, palms together. Strum the lute. Okay, center. Thumbs up. And switch. And center. Draw the bow. Okay, fan to the back. Okay, raise the hand. Okay, palms down. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, we'll go through the sequence. Okay, short form. You can move around a little. Okay, ready? Preparation. Begin. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, good. So last week we talked a little about the slowness, the evenness, and the four components that you need when you're doing Tai Chi. That's Yuan, which is circular. Yun is even. Okay, slow is Man, and Jun is accuracy. So, how do you develop those? It's just from doing the form, but the mindfulness of your, circles is really patterns. So all the things that we're doing is really patterning. Yun is to make it even, so you don't change speeds when you're going through it. There's different ways of execution, but in a normal slow form, you should be as even as possible, so you don't have abrupt movement. Okay, so those are two concepts: Yuan and Yun, round and even. Man is just doing it slowly. You're going not at a snail's pace. What makes Tai Chi slow is transition. If you're incorporating your legs and your hands, then it will appear to be slow. If you're just taking it and you're not moving your torso or your legs, you're just going like this, that's a different type of slowness. That's sort of just stillness, and you're just holding positions. That's a type of non-movement. So in balance, when we hold the position, that's to develop positioning memory, muscle memory, skeletal structure, the geometry of position, whether it's here, whether it's here, the hands, all of these, it's a training. It's developing the structure of your position so that when you pass from center to the corners, there's a consistency, there's the accuracy of movement. Okay, so there is a method to everything that we're doing, and you just have to understand. Now, another important principle is the vertical spine. So we do that when we hold here, we're slightly cupped here, we're vertical here. Okay, so this is like lifting from above, and the tailbone should be one line. Now, there is a little curvature in the spine, but the intent of the motion is still vertical. So you don't want to be tilting during that phase. And is there any tilting? It's really not so much tilting as the expansion and contraction of your torso, which is your ribs, your chest cavity, and your shoulders. Now your shoulders should be relaxed. So sinking the elbow and relaxing the shoulder is throughout the form. So after learning the sequence, your main objective is to release tension. The term is called Feng Song. Feng Song means to let go, release tension. And if you don't release the tension in certain parts of your body, you'll have conflicted movement or non-movement. Those areas won't move. So the only way you can actually teach your body to adapt and begin to move is first to go to the relax phase. Right, so you have to go through the relax phase in order to create movement. So the confident in movement is tension. So first thing to do is alleviate, get rid of the tension, so that you release the tension. So that's actually helping to break the habit. Right, we have a habit of storing tension in our body because, part of it is we don't know. The body doesn't even know that it's tense until you feel, discomfort or you feel pain or soreness because of that tension in the, say, lower back or upper back, around the neck area. We have a lot of tension in those areas because of the, maybe the anxiety or, to me, it's more, I think, more like a defensive mechanism. You get tense when you feel like you're under some type of condition, like stress, or if someone's about to assault you, you get tense. You don't relax. You get tense. But in a training like this, if you're training as a martial art, when you're about to engage in a situation, it's better to relax. Then you can respond better. Your mind is clearer, Because if you're tense and you're stressed and you have anxiety, then your mind is not thinking about what you're going to do now. It's thinking about how am I going to survive this. So then that becomes a survival mode thing. So you have to eliminate that stress by a level of understanding, knowing. So when we're doing these movements, sinking the elbow, relax the shoulder, that's first movement. Okay, so throughout the form, there's all these different postures. And the reason why we do this is to create the motion, to sink the elbow, relax the shoulder, and build some integration to the lower body. Now, the idea of sinking the elbow, relaxing the shoulder, it happens in every posture, right? So pick any posture and we understand where that sinking of the elbow and relaxing the shoulder happens, so that you can understand and start to sort of look at your own movement and begin to somewhat analyze what's going on within the posture. Because first line is memorize the sequence. After that, you have to feel the movements or experience that change. Right? So, John, you always have a question, so how about we pick a posture?
I'm thinking this one, my first, I was trying to think of an obscure,
A punch.
not obscure, but
Yeah.
that might not be related. So if this is but I guess I need to see the shoulder and the elbow.
Yeah, so you have to sink the... So any...
Relax the shoulder and sink the elbow.
Yeah. So if you don't relax the shoulder, it's not going to go. You have to relax the shoulder. Because if you don't relax the shoulder, it's not going to go that way. Because the shoulder is actually doing this. So if you tense it, it's not going to do that, right? So that's that's just one example of why the shoulder has to relax, right? And where else? Sink the elbow. How about sink the elbow for that one first? When you form the fist, there's your sinking of the elbow. And actually, when you create the forming of the fist, the shoulder has to relax. Otherwise, you can't do the circle. If you don't do that circle, then you can't create the vertical position in which the elbow starts to sink. Now, if you sink your elbow, you have to sink your knee, because we have the relationship of the upper body and the lower body, right? So when you form the fist, you have to sink. Now, if you're going to integrate the upper and the lower body, you can't create that motion as far as that relationship without turning your body. So the body has to turn right to left. The elbow has to sink up and down. The leg has to sink so you can go forward and back. So it covers the 5 principles of the dimension: forward, back, right, left, center. Now, when we're first learning it, we form the fist, right? So we form the fist, and we're actually doing some integration there. But then when you get into the posture and you form the fist, are you sinking the elbow and relaxing the shoulder, dropping here, so you storing the energy in the leg, and then you start to generate the movement. And if you're coming forward and you're turning your body, because we turn this way, we have to turn this way. So your target point when you throw the punch is to the center line. So here, and here have to line up. So if you look in the position, you form the fist and you target your position to here. So that's your alignment. That's accuracy of movement. So that's the 4th thing, accuracy. Circular, slow, even. So that's part of what you're trying to achieve when you're doing your movements. But that's a posture. Now, we only looked at the fist, right? We go like this, sink the elbow. Turn the body to create part of the circle, and punch. Sink the elbow, relax the shoulder. So all of this, that's your upper body relaxing. Lower body, your hips have to relax, your knees have to relax, your ankle has to relax, and then your torso has to blend. So that's just one sample of that simple punch, right? So it's not so simple when you start to build in, the components of your body, because that becomes complex movement. But how does that happen? Gradually. You first have to learn the motion. You have to learn the stance. You have to learn to turn. You have to learn to rise, and you'll have to learn to fall and integrate that. And then you blend it. And everyone's different because we take things differently, and our body actually evolves differently. So that's why we all have, some differences. Okay, before we do the form again, we're going to pick one more. Maria. No. Bob, anyone? Any posture? Eddie? Just pick a posture. You don't have to do it, I'll do it for you. To show you where the elbow is. Brush knee. Where's the sinking of the elbow? Sinking of the elbow. So side view, vertical center. Turn. When I turn, doesn't this elbow have to descend to find the center? When I turn here, there's a flip. In order for these to flip like this, the shoulder has to relax. This shoulder has to relax. Sink the elbow, relax the shoulder. Circular movement, slow, even, and turning the accuracy of movement. Center line, knee, and the nose, right? This is one side. Sink the elbow, relax the shoulder. Second side. So from here to here to here to here is a regulated releasing of tension and sinking because it has to be round, slow, even, and the target position is accuracy. And then you tie it to upper-lower coordination, forward and back, turning within the realm of your space to maintain the consistency of the structure. So there's so many different concepts in a single posture that it'll take you forever to interpret and understand all of it. So you do it just through movement, and you copy them, what you see. So when you're here, if we're here, and we turn, and we turn, and we sink, and we open, 1, 2, 3. Now, if I didn't relax my shoulder, it's not going to go to here. It would stay here. See? If I don't relax my shoulder, then it stays here. If I don't relax and sink my elbow, I don't find vertical, I don't find horizontal. And the gradual descent of this hand becomes part of the motion that you learn here. Right? To sink the elbow, relax the shoulder. Yeah, we didn't bring the hips in yet. But yeah, the hips are, your knees actually don't stay here. You turn and then it turns. When it turns to here, then you push off that leg, you see. So your hips, your knees, and your ankles are tied to your shoulders, your elbows, and your wrists, and that's on both sides. So there's a relationship in the body that becomes totally integrated as the unification of the body, the oneness of the movement. So it does take some understanding, but you have to have something to work toward, not just go through the movements as a sequence. If you just do that, then you're really not developing up here. Because up here, the mind intent and the mind relationship that drives your movement is all happening up here. So brain plasticity, building neurons, building integration of body, all comes from this. But you have to have something to tell it to do. So you have principles, you have concepts, you have all these ideas that you have to build into it. Now the geometry of position is part of the motor skill, because how do you know this is the right position? Because over time, your body will start to recognize where the positions are, because we've already identified it as circles, triangles, and squares. And then directional movement is the slant obliques. We don't go much beyond, those 90, 0, 90, 45. Mainly because you use that as your guidance, your standard. Because anything that's a variant of those angles become a discrepancy in your body because you begin to know from the feeling of those movements. The pelvis, it's really your hips, right? So the relationship between the hips is that they open and close. So the hips actually do this, right? When we turn in, we turn out. We turn in, we turn out. When we go forward and back, when we turn in, this opens and this actually will go and it's somewhat closed. So the relationship between hips is because they work together. So when you're here and you go here and back, your hips are actually making small circles as well. When you go in a position like this, now if you're here, you could feel the relationship between the hips. Because that's what has to happen for you to go from here to here. That's a relationship. So the muscles that are tied to the torsion part of your legs to go in and out are tied together. So most people just think of their thighs because you bend and you support your weight and you strengthen these and you can do a lot, you can lift a lot. But the hips do more than just do that. They have to turn, they have to take. So I look at the hips and the pelvis as you're steering. It takes you in a direction. If I turn this way, I go this way. I turn this way, I go this way. So that's what you do. The flexibility and the dexterity in the hip is going to keep you from damaging your knee, because if that doesn't move, then the stress goes totally into the knee. Yeah. So you could do it as a single movement that's somewhat isolated, or you can do it as a twist. Now if I twist my top, then my bottom will turn if I'm using a connection. If I put my body like this and I just turn and I keep that firm, then that becomes sort of an opposing motion. So it should be driven like here by the body. So here, the spine, because when I turn this way, my foot will turn this way. I could stand here, turn this way, and then do this, or kick my heel out and do this, as two separate ways of doing it. So you're learning to move your hip here first, as a lower turning from stork collapsing. This one becomes an integration, and that becomes a function of this. So there's a combination of both. Yeah. So it's not just driven by, this would be driving it, but it's isolated. So you want to let it blend. So if I'm moving this one should move too. If I'm moving this one, then this one should move too. So because the two sides of right and left have to work together. No. Yeah, it's reacting to something else because it's a function of. So you have passive active movement. If I do this, you're going to be unstable. But if you do this, then it's a little more stable, but still not stable. You're only stable until you one at a time. So one follows, because you essentially pass from one stance to another through a shifting. But you only can shift if you unweight and you wait. So these are concepts, but you have concepts to work with to allow your movements to be guided from these principles. So it's not random. It's really not just free, just free form. There is a structure. So if you're doing that and we're turning, we're not just moving the hands, the legs as a driving. You're sinking here. You're already beginning to sink here. When I shift and I'm beginning to turn, then the relaxing of the shoulder and turning of the hips is all tied to that. So these are just examples, so you have something to, sort of digest, and then you realize that it's in everything. All right, so we'll go through the long form for sequence, and there's, all that stuff is in there. All right, ready? With the nice and slow. Irina says Tai Chi should be done really slow, right, Irina? So slow is good, but not slow because we're just moving at a snail's pace. We have to have integration. Remember to sink the elbow, relax the shoulders, right? Okay, deep breathing. So let's just do a couple of supplementary drills for two things. One's for parry and punch. You sort of stand. So a lot of our training is separating the sections of the body. Even though you want to integrate, you have to perfect the line of movement. So this is the center line, horizontal elbow, and the vertical elbow, right? So there's your center line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Make your fists. 4. And then eventually you tie that with your knees. Okay, so that's something you can do on your own just to build the pattern and the network of movement. And then, every drill that we have, there's a certain amount of discovery that you have to experience through going through it. It's not like anything else where you learn and say, well, I know that, I learned it, I know that. This is different because in the learning process, you have to build the program up here. So complex movement is built up here. And without this, you really can't move. If you have a stroke and you lose the signaling from the brain to the muscles, you can't move. That's how it is. If you have like Parkinson's and you don't have the chemical transmitter that allow the impulse to go to the muscles, you can't do certain things or it's delayed. So this is so critical that you have to, constantly reinforce what it's doing. Brain plasticity, doing movements that we do to build neurons and everything else that reinforces our understanding of movement. But why movement? Why is it important to move? Total body movement. Because if you don't move your body, you can't get circulation throughout, systemically throughout the body. In Chinese families, even if it's not martial arts, they talk about, it's called He Hut Tun Wan, means the chi and blood flow together, and it has to be a complete circulation. So chi is kind of a mystical thing you hear about a lot in martial arts and lots of different disciplines. Chi is, it's hard to define, but it's in the human body. It's oxygen, it's nutrients. So it flows in the blood because that's where the nutrients and oxygen gets to the cells. And you have to have movement in order to create circulation. If your body doesn't have total movement, good circulation, it's because you don't have good movement. And what deteriorates as you get older? Movement, right? So people are looking for the fountain of youth. You have to move. It's as simple as that. Infants, when born, is moving. And it moves throughout until it starts to become, different stages of life, building bad habits throughout life, and then eventually thinking, that they don't really have to do a lot of exercise. So exercise is really not just bodybuilding. It's actually building integration of body, learning that forever. So you can do this type of thing forever because it's not strenuous. Depends on, it could be strenuous if you're putting too much physical effort in it, but it's actually, it's really nothing but manipulating a skeletal structure, and that's what I call it. Now we do this, infinity sign, right? So that's a figure 8. That's actually a pattern. Now if you take your figure 8 and you go from right to left, which is opening and closing, this is coming to your center, and you define that space. Now we took both hands and move it to here. Then your hands are going horizontally like this. depending on how big the circle is or how big the two pedals are on your movement. Now if you start to integrate your body and you start to turn, and you start to turn, then you start to turn, then the timing, the elongation of your pattern and where it changes becomes a motion. But it can't just be a physical movement. In the beginning it is. But as you begin to sink your elbow, relax your shoulders, then the movements will become something that your body will define. So the reason why I bring that up is because when you're in the downward posture and you turn like this and then you turn like this and you go down and then you come up to cross hand position, whether it's to here or to here, is this pattern. You see? So if your body doesn't know that pattern from some way of practicing it, it doesn't know it. So then you fumble through it and you don't know where it's going to go. So you have to define your pattern of movement and direction of movement. And because it's turning, it's really, again, sink your elbow, relax your shoulder as part of the... So that's in everything that you do, is to learn to sink your elbow, relax your shoulder. That will begin to get your torso to become more relaxed. And then the turning is now your back and your spine, right? So we do a lot of this turning, but we don't connect it to why we have to turn. We have to turn because turning is a motor skill too. If you don't program your body to learn to turn by telling it to turn, then it's not going to behave. It's not going to do it. So, while a lot of us do a lot of, especially the younger people do a lot of planking and, sit-ups and all that, you develop a tremendous core. But it doesn't develop movement, because movement is specific. If you want to develop good movement, you have to move specifically to that task. Now, building musculature is great for that. That's what you're doing. Get in shape, muscle tone, all that stuff is part of it, is looking good. The other side of it is it doesn't teach you to do this. It doesn't teach you to do this. It doesn't teach you to do this. Because those are specific to an action that your body has programmed in here. That program is unique to that movement, but once you've learned quite a few of these motions, then over time your body will start to cross-connect and start to realize that there's similar motions. So if you learn beat the tiger, or you learn beat the tiger, then you have J Lady work shuttle, right? So that's really how your body will start to identify. But you need these core type foundation fundamentals before your body can evolve past through that stage. So that's what you have to understand. All right, ready? Bow.